one of the reasons, I called you or text you to pull you in is just going over some of the Learning Center stuff, being able to speak to our parents and families or those that are interested directly with kind of what we're offering, why we're offering it.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I support the Learning Center, so I'll bring all the critiques to you.
Perfect. Yeah. Exactly.
Clearly, that's not the case.
No, but actually, I think that's 100% legit because so many people are going to question it, right? Why would my kid go there? Because it's a big commitment to say, I'm leaving the system,
which is
and go to this.
Completely scary for a lot of people. Even my wife, she's like, I don't know if we could do that.
Right.
Like, I don't know if I could teach. That's her thing, is I don't know if I can teach.
Right.
And that's valid.
Yeah. Which that might be a good place to start is hitting some of those myths. But if you got, let's see what you got.
Well, I got some questions.
We'll see where we go.
I've been out of the loop. So for those of you that don't know me, I did teach at the Learning Center. First, I taught science twice a week there, and I loved it. And if it wasn't for my other commitment that supports my family to the fullest, if it wasn't for that, I would be at the Learning Center full time, just to clarify. But I've been out of the loop for a bit. And so I have some questions, just some updates like that I'm curious about.
Yeah, perfect.
You want to start there? Or you want to?
Yeah, okay. Let's just go there.
All right. So we're partway through the school year. What has been like one of the biggest highlights for you guys so far this year?
Ooh, highlight this year. First thing that comes to mind is this is our 4th year, and we have kids that have been with us all 3.
Cool.
And
so like this would be their 4th year?
This is their 4th year with us. So to watch the kids grow, even some of them that are 2 and 3 year, is incredible because we set out on this mission to change up the game, potent lessons, practical lessons, a lot of truth about and empowerment. So the older ones, what you're seeing is them wanting to get in the world sooner. They're authentic to parents and us about the boredom with the curriculum. They're like, why am I studying this? I need a car. I should be making dollars, right?
I can go out and use these skills and do something with myself.
They have the confidence. Like there's a couple boys that are now going job site some days, and they're like, they have the physical confidence because of the workouts. They have some basic knowledge of how to be around other men, along with how to integrate and work hard and just be able to work. Yeah. A lot of that is their home life. But when you marry it with where they're going all day long, we're watching these empowered kids graduate from just doing stuff because we say so, so that you get a grade.
Right.
Because think about that message for the kids. They're going, I can ask Siri and get any answer that you're going to ask me right now.
Yeah.
In 5 seconds. But you're telling me to study this for a while. I'm going to forget it in a month, too. But that's what I should be doing. So at 10 years old, one that's you're really training to critically think is going to start questioning you. Sure. And if your kid isn't looking at you side-eyed. So anyway, my point is that's probably been the highlight, is watching these kids that we've been pouring into see huge breakthroughs. Sports fields for some of them, work stuff for the older ones. A kid, you say, you're a teacher. How much would this happen? Here's your assignments. They go to work for 2 hours. Intrinsically motivated, focused on their own, sitting there, disciplined enough to get that work done.
Yeah.
Because that's the potent dose for the day. Right. And then we have all the hands-on stuff, gym stuff, nutritional stuff, all that. So to watch these kids that figure it out, excel is the fruit.
Right.
And we're like, oh, good. We're doing something right.
Yeah. Well, and that's like one of the biggest things, right? Like to be able to see the fruit of the labor, and the fruit is developing our youth. So having students come out of the Learning Center who are confident in themselves, I mean, first off, that's huge.
Yeah.
When we have a society that's stuck on devices that doesn't feel confident to even go apply for a job or put themselves out there because they don't have the experience or the confidence.
Right.
Or whatever. That's awesome. to have the fruit of that, the confidence, the desire, the eagerness, like, you know, I have some family friends who they've got kids that are in their 20s still living at home, totally fine with the part-time job.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'm like, where's the passion to do something in the world? You know what I mean?
Right.
And I feel like that's pretty common in our culture nowadays. It's like we're not empowering our students, our youth, our young people to dream, become more, and do great things.
Yeah.
And preparing them to do so.
Right. Right.
So,
no, I love that. Yeah. And you can look around, like do an assessment of the kids, friends, and you can start evaluating that with a little more, objectivity for a nice word.
Yeah.
And be able to go, like, cause I remember those motivating times when I was going to turn 16 and how much you wanted the autonomy to drive a car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You wanted the autonomy to buy the car you wanted.
Yep.
You wanted to be able to then show it off to your friends and like just
get a loud exhaust on it and sound system.
Muscle car era for me. Like, oh my gosh, we were watching Dazed and Confused.
Way cooler. I had my
Wooderson. Like, have you seen that movie? Oh gosh. Okay. We can still be friends, but anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that's probably some of the real big highlights for me, and plus the systemization.
Yeah,
we've really hit a stride to have 90 this year, and the first year we had just 30 and change. Huge. Yeah, it's tripling capacity, which is big.
That's my word of the year: systems.
Yeah, serious. That's a big deal.
Recently, we were talking about goals and how lofty they are, and sometimes they can feel far away. But like, just to be happy with your system and build your system, like I don't know.
Yeah,
something I've been focused on. Super cool. I love that. Let's see. What are some of the largest lessons that you have learned? And maybe just give like one or two.
Yeah.
Since you've learned since starting the Learning Center. Because you went from like firefighter to gym owner to now you guys are running a successful school.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, not school, Learning Center.
Right. Here we are in California. Be careful. No. Yeah. Gosh, those are hard because I find so much honor in all the lessons that it's hard for me to put a measurement. But I think one of the things that would be valuable for folks to hear, and that is a huge lesson for me, one of the ones that came to mind when you asked that, is unpacking how much I've been taught of how things are supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. I felt that when I was there. I was like, we can't do that. It's not, like it just felt, I don't know. I had to like step back and be like, oh, this is me.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And so I've had to read a lot of books. Mm-hmm. I've had to really study. I've had to take my life as a study to be able to say, okay, here's this amazing, I consider him a mentor, a close friend, and how he lives his life. He was homeschooled. Kids are all homeschooled. And you observe it and you're like, oh, it's none of the stereotypes where they're weird and can't communicate and they're sheltered and they're wimpy or any of that weird stuff. He kills all of that.
Yeah.
Runs a successful business. His kids, you go up and talk to him, they'll shake your hand, look you in the eye, ask you how you're doing, like authentically, and be able to carry on a conversation. And I'm like, and then you meet the kids that are 12-year-olds and you go to shake their hand and it's the wet piece of lettuce, the limp lettuce. They won't look you in the eye.
Yeah.
And I'm going, okay. So that type of examination, then the books I've read, to be able to go, okay, test, retest, right? What has the system, what drove the system to be what it is? Okay. I'm talking banking system, insurance system, government system, taxation, schools, this whole thing, this whole machine that shapes our mindsets. Like, what was it founded in? What and the trajectory of it? What's my place in that? And do I actually believe in all that? And then what can I unwind? And then how best can I wire? Because we are wiring our kids' minds.
Yeah.
And he's my son, he's in the booth. For those of you who didn't know, but he's listening to everything I'm saying, watching everything I'm doing, and he's going to learn more by my example.
Yeah.
than what's coming out of my mouth, right? So that's my accountability point. But then I kept looking at it and going, I was indoctrinated to think you need 12 years of school. There is a lot of high functioning, highly successful people that finished it shorter, didn't finish, whatever. Right. That's a myth. Didn't need 12 years of school.
Right.
Then what the culture within it, and me being someone who loves God the way I do and wants to serve Jesus the way I do, and then have that not be allowed. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We can't talk about that. It's so wrong to talk about in schools.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, what? So you just start asking all these trail of questions. And I was astonished at how deeply I was ingrained to just participate and be a good A student, even though I wasn't an A student. Yeah. But it's like, be a good boy, Johnny. Sit there, do what you're told, blindly. Mm-hmm. So there's a song, Outlaws Like Us, that's Riley Green, that I love because I realized since I was a little guy and I just stay within the lines enough to not get too much friction, I've been like, this is retarded.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize the level of bad.
Yeah, you're right. Well, and I think our culture kind of spirals into whatever direction. You know, public schools are getting even more challenging. As kids interact with kids, now we have social media, we've got all this, comparison thing, we've got a lot of unhealthy stuff, but then we also have the staff of the schools trying to still be the best they can be in it.
Right.
And and it's just been hard. So anyway, to come back to that question, having to kind of reprogram yourself.
Yes, exactly. That's a great word for it.
Is something I completely agree with when I was there, and I still struggle with it. Like I teach science to 7th and 8th grade students in a public school. And I'm still like, okay, you need to learn the standards, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't care if you learn them advanced. Like, but oh no, if you're behind, like we got to go back, we got to get that, that standard, you need to learn that. And and part of me like still holds on to that. Like, oh no, like what if this student gets behind and then they're not where they could be, and this whole like, okay, I don't know, it's just a system that we've built and it's really hard. Like, I think one, because I want the best for every student.
Right.
And I want them to have a baseline knowledge of everything. Like if a student doesn't know why we have a 24-hour long day, then somebody might be like, hey, it's because of this. And it could be like some wacky, crazy idea. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, if you learn that, and that's just a silly example, but that's where my mind goes, where it's like, okay, if they don't know the basics of this thing, writing, reading, huge skills. Right. Basic math to be able to balance spreadsheet, do your bank account, all that stuff, huge life skills. And then basic things about the world around us. So you're not like, I don't know.
Super naive to everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so that's like, I guess that's the concern for me. It's like, okay, where do I find my balance where it's like, okay, yes, we have these standards that smart people, quote unquote, have designed for us to learn each school year. Mm-hmm. And I agree to some of that, but I also don't want to be like imprisoned to that. Mm-hmm. Where can I find some freedoms in that where it's like, okay, to learn basic math skills, to do these things. I don't know. So anyways, all that to say, like I struggle with reprogramming myself. Yeah. Because we do live in this system and we've been raised in it. And
we've been taught. So I appreciate you being authentic about that, because a lot of people may not even be aware that that's really what their battle is. Mm-hmm. And they're transmitting it to their kids or passing it to their kids without sorting it themselves. Like, go headlong into that battle, which I think you are. But there's a fear component that we've been taught since day one. Like, okay, Brad, I'm putting you in school. Be a good boy. Mm-hmm. And then it's like
each year you need to learn everything that you need to be successmeal. And if you don't, then there's going to be a problem. Like you're going to be behind next year, and then I don't know. Like,
so there's a lot of fear. I mean, you think about that onset. Mm-hmm. So I've had to like cite that and figure out, okay, what within that is valid. Like you're saying, okay, well, we don't want total naive. We don't want too nerded out or advanced. Does that really matter? What matters? You can find the information. We're so information heavy now.
Oh man.
So part of what I've done with that. And very rarely do I even get this far with a parent. But I say, okay, well, who created the standard and why? So we're going to follow something and we don't really know that's history. A lot of people, right? You probably know it better than most because of your background. But
I know standards. I know science standards. That's it. I know the science standards, and I know more or less where they've come from and why they are changed so drastically. But yeah.
But then why? Right? So you start asking that question, why, and then where did it come from? Yeah. So we decided 7th grade needed to know this. Why? Is it because of where they need to land at 12th grade? Or is it because it's as much we can cram into a 7th grader? Is it because it makes a good factory worker? No. So we have all these questions just behind that. But instead of looking at those questions, right?
I started to answer those questions first. I was like, oh, yeah, I got
we're going, who created that?
Yeah.
And then is it the beta test or the test retest?
Yeah.
If we look at literacy rates, we look at functioning humans, we're not necessarily improving that. We're advancing technology, incredible, and you still have the people excelling.
Totally.
But I don't know that the one size fits all is part of that problem, but the fear of it. And then it's like, because people are like, well, I'll talk to parents. How's your son, daughter, blah, blah, that I know, and they're still fully in the system. Not a bad thing. I love these people. These are my friends. And they'll be like, oh, they're getting straight A's and blah, blah. And I'm thinking, burning inside me, I want to say, what does that mean?
Yeah.
I gamed the system in half my classes to get an A. Did that make me is that any measure of a person? It's measuring about that much of a human being.
Right.
A shred. Because it doesn't tell you necessarily all these other facts about how they function, interact, all these other things. So there's a weightiness to all that I want to scream, what does that A mean? I'm not necessarily asking you.
No, I know.
But you get where we're going here.
Well, and that makes me think like, maybe they're like, if we want to measure, right? I've heard and I believe that what we measure gets results, right? Like, things that we're tracking. And in schools, we're going to track, like, can you take tests well? Can you do your assignments well?
Right.
Well enough.
Right.
Are we, yeah. But like you said, all those other components of like, confidence, strength is a big piece, right? Like health, knowledge of that, like just a well-rounded student. Like, are we tracking that? Like, and maybe that's a question for the Learning Center. Like, is the Learning Center helping to hit those different pieces, to track those different pieces? And I don't know. I don't even know if I'm asking that, but it's just a thought.
No, I get what you're saying.
You guys have the freedoms to
do that.
To really, if you wanted to, you can. Like, there's nothing that's stopping you. If it's a passion, if you think it's something that you find important, then there's nothing in the way. There's no political this or that, or we're pulled too thin or whatever. Like, I don't know.
No. Yeah, so that, as far as lessons, back to your question, it's been unwinding all that and recreating what I see as, like you said, I have the freedom to track what I want with my kids or the kids there, or lead the families and that stuff.
Totally.
But we went right into running it, and then I'm still unpacking. Yeah. So it wasn't like I spent, 10 years studying this and then could hit the ground running. I don't know if that's even a possible scenario, So, but for example, like for that, to speak to that even further, God bless my wife, she goes, when we do things in life, if you do something at work right now, you never really turn it in and have someone correct it for you. If I frame up, because I did construction, right, to transition for income out of the fire department. So if I build a wall, I have to fix the mistakes. So she said with my son, well, you did your math, son. I'm not going to sit here and correct it for you. It's the most bizarre thing ever. You have to go back and fix your mistakes. What mindset is even that? Okay, I just done here.
This is what you got wrong. Now move on to the next lesson.
Right. So she makes him, and he loves it, go back over his math, and then he gets to give himself a star once it's 100% correct. It doesn't matter how many got wrong. Yeah. The point is, could you diagnose what's wrong, fix it? Now you might be ready for the next lesson.
Yeah.
But that's like earth shattering for people to say that, right? Because they're going, well, no, you get the grade. what again? Why?
Yeah.
It begs questions. So totally. Unwinding all those, whether big, like that's just a math lesson story, right?
Yeah.
All the way out to how much time it takes to make a literal adult that doesn't know language. Yeah. And it's like hundreds of hours, yet K through 12 is 12,000 hours roughly. So like, what do we do?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's like you said, that fear that you're not going to be able to function or be literate. So anyway, sure. That unpacking has been one of the biggest lessons.
That reminds me of one of my favorite movies.
Good Will Hunting?
Is, no, it's not. Oh man, I lost it. It's a fly fishing movie.
A River Runs Through It?
Yes. River Runs Through
movie.
It.
Great movie.
He's writing his little essay or paragraph.
Yeah.
He turns it in, and his dad scratch. Do it again.
Yep.
Make it shorter. Scratch. Do it again. Make it shorter. I think on the third time, he's like, good, go play. So he was the same thing. He was like, this is wrong. You need to make it shorter. Go do it. Like, it wasn't like, let me tell you what you did wrong, exactly how to fix it, to redo it, or just like, these are all the things wrong and you got 50% and go play. It's like, no, go fix it, make it right.
Mm-hmm.
And once it's good enough, then you can go play.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like it.
And we have like, how many, as far as mass education, we don't have actually that long a history with it. So what happened all the years before?
Yeah. And
that's another question.
I have more questions for you.
Yeah, let's go.
I also think, like, just on that side note.
Yeah.
I look at literature of, 100 years ago,
mm-hmm.
and it's more complex than what people are producing nowadays.
Right. So, there's a lot of study to happen there.
Yeah. So I don't know.
And as
food for thought.
Families that might, our families, learning center families that listen to this, keep on that journey of unpacking what things you're just doing out of what fear and what.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just take your life as a study.
And
it's fun.
And it is, like, I totally see that, like, in our own kids. So I have a 4-year-old this month, and I have a 2.5-year-old. So we're not quite there as far as, like, education per se. But it is a fear of, like, okay, it's kind of the unknowns, right? It's, if I take this step, obviously I can go back into public school, but am I good enough? What are we going to do? I have my kids, mm-hmm. If I do the learning center twice a day or twice a week, what am I doing with them the other times? Like,
right.
There's just so much uncertainty,
mm-hmm.
and I totally understand that. But I also, like, see the value in, as a family, having a control of what my kids learn and what they see and what they experience. And then with the learning center, being able to still implement the interactions with their peers, huge.
Right.
Learning from those around them, interacting with, like, that's a huge component. And I think, we have this thing of homeschooled kids who are awkward and this and that and whatever. And I've seen that. I see mm-hmm. that.
Mm-hmm.
And
mm-hmm.
I have students that are like that. And I think the learning center provides that and so much more, right? It's the interactions, but it's mm-hmm. also the teamwork. It's multi grades all working together. So the younger kids are learning from the older kids.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking up to and learning from and maturing because of that, I believe. And then you got the workouts and you've got competitions. Like, there's just so much more that the Learning Center provides that I don't even think public schools can.
Yeah.
Okay. Future plans. What are some future plans for the Learning Center?
Future plans. Well, short term future plan is this spring implementing during what we call flex time, which well, because that's when you delivered your lessons. We call it flex times because it's flexible. It's what meets maybe the kids, the time, the lessons, and we block it out. Sometimes we break them up. We do exercises, whatever. So two of the things we're going to offer moving into this spring is self-defense, which I'll teach, and then Karina's going to teach Olympic lifting.
Oh, wow.
So
that's going to be fun.
Layering in some more advanced stuff in the physical realms because, studies show and up until 12 boys shouldn't even be like sitting in a classroom. It's like pointless, we're just doing a cute experiment. They could catch up like that if they had the character to do the things. So anyway, but now we have all these movers for this many years. We can advance some of this stuff, and we have systems in place that Karina and I can peel off and now teach some of our specialties. So in the short term, we're going to do that. And because we have families either 2, 3, or 4 days a week, we're staggering it: self-defense Monday, Wednesday, and then Olympic lifting Tuesday, Thursday. So if they're a 4-day-a-week kid, they're getting all of it for 12 weeks, because then we're going to swap that. So all the kids get to see it. Cool. So, so that's going to be fun.
So is this for all ages?
For the Olympic lifting, no, they have to be in there. It's not here's another part of it. We can't just say, it's 4th grade and up, right? Because not all 4th graders are functioning the same, especially in physicality.
Yeah.
Same thing mentally and scholastically, right?
Well, and I hear, kids that work out too soon, too fast, they're like midgets or something like that.
Oh, gosh. Then there's that myth.
Then there's that one.
Right? Like, how do you even load a bone so hard on its growth plate that you stunt it?
Yeah.
When's the bone at the straight angle to do that? Anyway, so, we're going to kind of do some evaluation. There's some flexibility on the ages for the Olympic lifting, but we have a lot of movers, right? We have athletes, state level for sure, jiu-jitsu and wrestling athletes. So getting them to do some of the most potent lifts, equipping them for the rest of their lives of the Olympic lifts, which are, the clean, jerk, snatch, for those of you who don't know, which within that, you have to learn to squat, you have to learn timing, you have to learn speed. It's a sport in of itself.
It's a whole body. Everything's got to be connected.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're connecting body to brain to, I can do it, building confidence, right? Because all of it, we track the loading, we track it all. It's loaded appropriately. We're not going to load a kid that can't hold the right shape with their back to maximal loading. We don't even maximal load the kids at all, but it's still getting them way stronger and confident, right? Sure. So that is super cool. That's a passion of mine. That was one of the reasons, fun to open the gym. It's this is a whole sport that's really popular in other countries that hasn't really hit America yet. These Olympic lifts. Yeah. We have Olympic barbells, and they used to be just the big bench press barbell, to me. Yeah. So learning how to move the bar that way. And then for self-defense, that's a huge one for me. Those seeds are so deep in me. My dad always said that, dad's job is to be the protector. So I took that very seriously from a little kid, because I'd look up he keeps me safe. Oh no, that's going to be my job someday. I better start tracking, what's that take? Yeah. What kind of physicality, what kind of mindset, all that stuff. So he practiced martial arts before it even had the popularity it does now. And crazy story about that is he was massively picked on because he was the brownest kid in school. So he was called names, held down the bottom of the pool, and everything. Wow. So he has the stereotypical story of, I'm going to learn to defend myself, and somebody's going to get flat backed if they mess with me, because I'm literally a victim of it. Yeah. So he had to learn it by demand, and then pass that mindset pretty heavily to me. So I got more serious at 14 years old, learned Kung Fu. It fit a smaller body style. My dad's big on traditional, from closest to its origins. So for me, that Kung Fu, the gal actually was on the Chinese Wushu performing team. Jeez. They traveled to America, and she defected from the team, basically ran from the team. And she was on the team same time as Jackie Chan. So that's kind of a cool, wild, man. Kind of a cool deal. And she ran, and so she landed in Bay Area. So we drove 40 minutes for me to train with her. But broken English, she called me Roni, that was my name in class. But she was a mama bear, but incredible, that's cool. And they back in the day when they would have to put sensors on humans to make the video game characters, she was actually a character. Wow. Yeah. So pretty cool.
So I thought your martial arts was just in the last couple of years, but you've been doing it for most of your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and younger, my dad taught me some stuff, but it wasn't you have to kind of get in the format with kids similar size and all that stuff to really exchange. And then, so I learned 14 on, I did a few years with that. And then I went, got busy, high school stuff, social life became more important. And then when I went off to go to college, which I only have a 2-year degree, I found Kook Sool.
Little man.
I know.
Little mind.
Little brain. I got to learn some things. I found Kook Sool, which is a very traditional Korean martial art.
Okay.
Which I like that. It had tumbling and striking, some joint locking. And then now I'm actively doing jiu-jitsu, which is the grappling part.
Cool.
So, and it's just challenging, dude. That's some of the initial stuff where you get out of your comfort zone, you get hit, your bubble gets challenged and all that. And then teaching the self-awareness. I had some really great instructors that were all about that, confidence, self-awareness, and kids. I mean, look at the border crisis. You look at everything else. We need to equip kids to be able to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
This is like an absolute.
Yeah.
You can't question that.
I totally agree. I think, as a father, like you're saying, like what your dad was saying, just to be able to defend.
Mm-hmm.
And there's firearms that I have for that. But, what if it is a man-to-man, battle?
Yeah.
And being equipped in that. And so my son, he's 4. He'll be 4 this month. We were just talking about getting him into jiu-jitsu or something, just to get him a little bit acquainted with it.
Yeah.
Do you ever think there'd be situations where it would be maybe not beneficial for a student to learn a type of martial arts? I'm just thinking, you guys, 90 kids, all ages, all backgrounds. Is there, I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah, I appreciate that question. I think there's kids that may be at a level of function that it would be prohibitive, right? It'd be asking them for too much out of their comfort zone to where it's just locked down.
Yeah.
And I don't think we have many with us, but, having an eye for that.
Sure.
And then when you're around that many kids and you learn, which, I've learned through my own study and just life stuff, ones that might have abuse in their background, varying degrees. You go physical contact.
Yeah.
You're touching something that you could really unhatch some stuff.
Flip the lid, yeah.
Right. So there's some delicacy in it, but then also my son is at a karate school down in Cottonwood, and that guy does a great job for kids and says, look, we learn from games. Humans in general learn from games. So I don't need to talk to an 8-year-old that this is how you punch somebody in the eye. And plus that's not that effective really all the time. Yeah. So you create these games that gets them to break the barrier of the bubble, get comfortable, closing a gap, making a gap, figuring out spacing, timing, footwork, all this stuff. It can all be built into clever games.
Yeah.
So the kids are just trying to, I put them in their fighting stance and they're just trying to touch each other's shoulder, which was his game that I'm just stealing. But it makes perfect sense. Like the kids don't need all that intensity.
Totally.
Really what I'm teaching
bring it
them.
to their level. Like
totally.
Make it something that they're going to love and be passionate about and enjoy.
And then the teenage boys, you can take and hold the kick pad for them and they hold it for each other. Now they get to feel some power. They get to feel some impact. They get to come up against another physical body, which every study shows imperative for good development. Building testosterone, healthy testosterone. We have a testosterone epidemic.
Yeah.
And we have weightlifting, self-defense, and all these combative arts getting pushed to the side for the sake of safety and comfort. I'm like, oh no. So it's funny to watch it because there's a big, but the people that are going that route, their kids are incredible because there's so much available right now.
Yeah.
Then there's the other side of it. But
no, I'll nerd out on some stuff like YouTube. There's a video I watched. A guy did a test and he was younger than me, like 20s, maybe early 30s, low testosterone, and he's like, these are all my numbers. It's like, I've heard these are some things that I can help. And so he did this whole new life routine, which involved exercise, early sunlight, like all of these different things that the Learning Center does. And I'm like, I love that place. Yeah. If it's sunny, we kick them out. Yeah. And
all that stuff. And the fun part about it is if you're not locked down to the systems, you can just start hacking. All this information's available. As a family, you can hack it.
Yeah.
As a business, you can hack it. And when I say hack it, I mean you can like find the shortcuts. They're everywhere.
Well, now you could just go like, hey, AI.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I haven't done a whole lot of. I check my students' work every now and then. I'll put it on AI and see if I can come up with the same answer. But
yeah,
I don't know. It's still this crazy entity for me. I should probably dabble.
Yeah, I started a little bit, and we'll talk about that another time. But yeah. I appreciate your questions and your time on it. And I think for the future, it's just continuing to find those value points and what we can offer throughout the day, and then watch how do the kids react. What's the good fruit of it, and make sure we're not just doing it because, and also within that, like investigating, there's learning centers that are using AI learning apps, and these kids are smoking test scores and everything else. So as far as what we use to measure for being a part of the system, they're getting 40-minute lessons and everything, and they're 14 years old, like smoking the SAT because it's such potent, good learning, and then they're out creating. Yeah. Moving, doing this other stuff. So
they're given some free time to, I think I've heard, it's good to be bored.
Yeah,
it's good
100%.
For your creativity, peace, just so much stuff. Like obviously sometimes it's not good to be bored. You can get yourself into trouble, but I don't think we are bored anymore. I think we're so consumed by our phones, by just content coming at us. And so for students to have a chance, okay, let's get my work done, and then I have freedom to go create and do things and not be bored, but use that time for something that's going to be life-giving.
Yeah. So. Yep. And that's now a skill, right? Because we have constant choice with that. We got a lot of time, a lot of information, a lot of things to entertain.
Yep.
So even that is a core skill of like, how are you going to self-motivate to spend your time, or how are you going to filter?
Protect it, right?
Yeah.
Because
it'll eat you up.
Billions of dollars is paid by companies to see how can I get you on my platform, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so literally the psychology behind it of addiction, it's like all in there. And so that's what we're going up against, and that's what our kids are going up against.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And the learning center is going right after that. Like having those discussions, Makoa will tell you. Mm-hmm. You could ask him after this, my son. He's 9, and he'll tell you the average time people spend on their smartphone in a day. Mm-hmm. Staggering. Hours. It's like 8 hours.
Oh, my goodness.
That's the average. So it's like the addictiveness is off the chart. And there's all the software engineers, that's all they're spending millions on.
Yeah.
Millions to get your attention.
You addicted.
Yes.
My wife and I have a competition to see who can keep the lowest number of hours per day on our phones. So
that's beautiful.
We have our iPhones tracking us.
Yeah.
Which
that's such a fun way to do it.
Yeah. So we're like, how many, when the results come up, we're like, what are your numbers this week?
Yeah.
These are mine. What are yours? Like, man, you beat me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a whole nother thing. That would be a good one to go into, but yeah, coaching soccer practice, and I look over and all the parents are there at practice, and there was like 10 on the sideline. Every one of them on a smartphone.
Dude, it's okay.
I can't.
I know we're over.
That's okay. It's good stuff, but
this is something I've actually been thinking about you guys, and even for parents, and it's in my Amazon cart. It's a book that I recently was recommended, which I don't have service for. It was basic. It was how to reprogram your kid's mind after screen addiction.
Oh, that's going to be a thing. There's going to be a lot of programs having to tackle that.
And it's a whole book on basically like if you got kids that are on their screens all the time, games, phones, whatever, TV, like it's a whole it's like 2 weeks or 4 weeks on how to basically reprogram your kid's mind. And I'm like, not just kids, adults.
Oh, 100%. The dopamine game that's being played.
Yeah. I look at me and my wife, and I'm like, hey, we should probably hang out with our kids. Like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, it's even in our home. So
yeah. That'd be a good one to go into. But thanks again, buddy.
Yeah.